Alright, so like I was saying, welcome to Analyze the Game. Sorry for the brief collapse of the last video. So kind of continue off where I was talking about was the last few cards in Paladin. At this point, we've talked about some of the first few ones. We did Druid, Hunter, Mage, and basically Paladin. We'll continue off with the classes and then move on to the neutrals in the future. So last I spoke, I was talking about the last two cards here: Lightforge Blessing, Twin Spell, give a friendly minion lifesteal. So the biggest you'll see, I think it's gonna be in Paladin cards, sorry, Paladin decks. But the biggest thing is going to be the Pyromaniac, I'm sorry, Wild Pyro, with the fact that just casting on him, it's instant heal to anything on the board. Even if he doesn't kill anything, it still will do a lot of damage and heal you back to full. And that's one thing with Paladins now. It has this new healing mechanic. Well, it's not necessarily new. It's just the fact that they used to be strong healers and they weren't strong healers, and now they're kind of like all-right healers as far as themselves. With especially with the fact that we got in the last expansion, Thackle turning your health into damage. I'm sorry, your health into armor, and then they came back with healing to heal yourself as well. So they got some new cheap spells in order to do that. So having a cheap 2-mana lifesteal is versatile in the fact that you can do it twice from one card, even if you have to do it twice in a row. So you can, Wild Pyro, use it, and shoot, if you have to do a second Wild Pyro just to kind of get a whole bunch of health back, it's flexible. Will that win you the game? No. Will that, prolong the game? Yeah. Might save you to where you get the cards you need. So overall, it's flexible. 1-mana, new secret, never surrender. As far as secrets go, I like the fact that it's different in the aspect that it procs, of course, whenever your enemy uses a spell. And a lot of times, especially when you have those people that try to BM you, they'll try to use spells and whatnot before they finish you off. And that surprise 2 health on your minions, even if you have a taunt, can win you the game. I mean, can turn it in your favor, I should say. So the fact that you have desperate measures on top of that can pull it as far as random. Because one thing about secrets, a lot of times people can read into what you are doing based on what the board, so they can kind of guess what type of secret you're using. But this is, I think, pretty good with the fact that it's versatile. So, and of course, more than likely, they're going to keep adding secrets with as more expansions come out in the future. So, as far as secrets for Paladin go, this is a step in the right direction, I will say. Alright. Now we're on to some other classes. So, Priest. Priest is my favorite. Love Priest. So, Priest is going to be fun, I think, this expansion. Biggest thing with Priests, we can kind of go over some of the things we're losing here. Well, let me turn the sound back onto Hearthstone. So the biggest thing that I think, all in all, Priest is going to lose is Psychic Scream, which was the biggest way of clearing the board for Priest. Now, we still have Mass Hysteria, but it's not going to be the same thing. Alright, so like before, we can kind of go over all the different things we're losing. So, big things that Priests are losing this next expansion. Awaken the Makers. Goodbye, Mara. Mara's what kept Priest alive up to 40 health. And with the new Seance card from the last expansion, basically keep putting them back on the board to keep yourself at top. Losing that's going to be a blow. Radiant Elemental is a great card to have. honorable mentions is probably Curious Glimmer Root. It saw a lot of play in some early expansions, not recently so much so. But it was a good way of finding out what your opponent's playing. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to know what card that actually is in their deck versus the ones that are not. Top 1, Shadow Visions. The fact that you can get copies of whatever's in your deck, that's going to hurt. Lyra, however you want to pronounce it, is, I mean, it's not as big as a blow as it is now as it was in the past, but the fact that we don't have it anymore is kind of like, Alright. That's from Ungoro. So, Frozen Throne, we saw Eternal Servitude, which is played a lot in Big Priest, basically a Resurrect Priest, Wall Priest. We use that a lot. Shadow Essence to kind of pull in some things that's from your deck so it can die to bring back with Eternal Servitude. Shadow Reaper Anduin. Man, that's going to be a rough one to lose. I like the Obsidian's... Oh, let me turn on this mode so we can see all the other cards. Alright. I like the Obsidian Statue. It was a good way as far as Death Rattle, you know, destroying the minion, and basically as a big big taunt. Archbishop Benedictus was good with control. As you can see, I didn't craft them because I knew the expansion is coming up, so I didn't really care to have them. Spirit Lash is versatile and great as far as, even though it was only for 1 damage, it was actually good to clear out those 1 health minions, which was really prevalent. Even a Token Druid would have been nice to have that against them. Did I miss anything from Ungoro? No, I had everything there. Okay. And Kobolds. Duskbreaker, probably the best one. And the Spellstone. And Psychic Scream. Ugh. Sucks that we're losing that. For Priest. Twilight's Call was good for Death Rattle such. But we're losing Amara anyway, so... So, the way it's going to work for Priest nowadays, honestly, is... I foresee, with the fact that Priest is going to have the spells like Mass Hysteria, so of course, to control the board, you're going to have that almost in every Priest deck. The key is that we don't have something like Psychic Screen to actually clear the board if you're behind, other than having Mass Hysteria. And you don't have Shadow Visions to get multiple Mass Hysterias to kind of control the board. So it's going to be more of a minion-centric, I want to say. So kind of to go over the new cards, we can go with the legendaries. We got 8 mana, 6/8, Katrina Muerte. At the end of your turn, summon a friendly minion that died this game. Good to have on there. Get to anything that is 8 mana has to have an effect on the board. So here, it's going to bring back something that died in the game. Now, granted, you might have some minions that you don't want brought back, like your Northshire Clerics, but the fact of the matter, better to have something on the board than nothing. Alright, so then we have Madame Lazul. 3 mana, 3/2. Battlecry. Discover a copy of this. Discover a copy of a card in your opponent's hand. So it's going to show you at least. Well, it's going to show you 3 cards. So of course, if your opponent has less than 3 cards, it's going to show you whatever they have remaining. But with the fact that it's going to actually show you what they have in their hand, man, it was. I played a lot of the Beast, what was it? And Priest, the Lizard guy. Let's see here. Here we go. Chameleos, I actually played with him, and the fact that he would sometimes turn into something that your opponent had that you can use. I mean, it happened more than not. But, you know, the fact that I think Madame Lazul is going to be very strong as it turns out, with the fact that just the knowledge of what someone has in their hand, you can play around it. Now, granted, in and of itself is only 3 mana, so 3 mana, 3/2. I mean, honestly, you're not going to want to play this in the early game, but you have the versatility to play it in the early game. If it's the only minion in your hand and you're fighting for the board for the early game, you're going to play it. Of course, with 2 health, it's going to die, but might, do a favorable trade that helps you out in the future. So between the 2 legendaries, I think Priest has gotten some really good legendaries. Even if they're not even good, let's just say they're not good for this expansion, they're going to be great for future expansions. Because, like I said, we don't have a board clearing spell thanks to Second Scream rolling out. But that doesn't mean that in a future expansion we will have something more to add on to the package of Mass Hysteria. So I think with this, the Year of the Dragon, this is a good stepping stone for Priest. So I look forward to all the newer cards as they come out in the future. But between these 2 legendaries, I think they're great legendaries for Priest. Alright, Shadowy Figure, 2 mana, 2/2, Battle Cry. Transform into a 2/2 copy of a friendly Death Rattle minion. Honestly, I wouldn't add this into my deck. Not yet, at least. I mean, there's really no point in doing a Death Rattle package at this moment, thanks to the fact that the quest is rotating out. But, I mean, a 2 mana, or if you already have Death Rattle on the board, so for example, this 5 mana Convincing Infiltrator, it's a really great card. So, I mean, getting another copy of it would be awesome. But aside from that, I would put it in the back burner. Don't add it into your decks until we get some future expansions that show where Death Rattle actually matters. Alright, next, Lazul's Scheme. So we have schemes out of all of the newer ones. So Lazul's Scheme is 0 mana. Reduce the attack of an enemy minion by 1 until your next turn. So each turn you have this in your hand, it upgrades. So, of course, in the beginning, it's not really going to be much, but as each turn goes on, it's going to be great. We're going to have, I'm definitely going to run the Cabal. Let's see where's she at. There we go. Cabal Shadow Priest. With the fact that all the different schemes and stuff, I think Cabal Shadow Priest is going to be a strong contender for almost every Priest deck. We shall see how it all turns out, but I think it's great. Great addition. Makes it easier to actually take anything. I mean, if Lazul's Scheme is in your hand, and here you have Cabal Shadow Priest, like you just top deck it. The fact that you can control. Now, granted, that minion, let's say, is in your hand for a while, may have 0 attack until you go back to your turn. The fact that you took it from your opponent is a good swing in your favor. So, Lazul's Scheme, I think, is a really good card, and will be favorable in the matchup with the fact that we don't have a way to board clear everything. With Cabal, we can at least take something. Alright, 9 mana. Mass Resurrection. Summon 3 friendly minions that died this game. So, this is in place of the Spellstones. So we're gone with the Spellstones, and we have... Now, of course, with the Spellstones, you were able to summon different minions, but as you notice with Mass Resurrection, it's just 3 friendly minions. So you can end up summoning copies of the same minion. Now, granted, here we have the fact that people are going to be using this to try to want OTK, and you notice that it's at 9 mana, so then that way you don't Mind Blast them if you were to get Velen and Malygos back in the same instance. But either way, at 9 mana, it's going to really, in my opinion, I would use this more so if you had a like taunt type. If you had like a taunt deck of some sort that were really strong and you can protect yourself, then using 9 mana to bring back 3 taunts of different types could be really good for you. Or, you know, some legendaries that were really good. Granted, you want them, it's random as far as those 3 minions, so you got to be careful. Next, 5 mana 2/6 Convincing Infiltrator, which is, the art itself is very funny. He's like, oh yeah, hey, don't mind me. Anyway, taunt, death rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. So here you have this at 5 mana. When it dies, could end up killing, well, it will end up killing an enemy minion. Ooh, man. When we had Obsidian Statue, that was a big hindrance for enemies to get around. This is cheaper at 5. And, I mean, honestly, the stats at 2/6 is like, okay, whatever. But the fact that it's a taunt, and then once you kill it, it ends up destroying randomly anything, it's great. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite cards here. So, as for priests, I mean, definitely look at this one. Gonna kind of protect your priests. Not only protects you, and the fact that they might have, you know, used up their minions, used up whatever they had to get through it, and probably killed off some enemy minions. And then this is going to go back and kill them as well. So, yeah. Very good, very good. 0 mana Forbidden Words. Spend all your mana. Destroy a minion with that much attack or less. Another good way. So, as you can see, we have more of a... We have removal for Priest, but more like a single target removal. It's not going to be that second screen that would clear the board. Now, granted, that would, you know, put the minions into your enemy's deck, but it was such a huge swing that here they are. They just used all their cards in their hand, used second screen, put it in their deck, and then they wouldn't have a whole lot to deal with. Now that's gone, and we only have Mass Hysteria to rely on, which can be unpredictable. I mean, I've seen some really good Mass Hysterias, even for my own self, that I didn't plan, but it's still random. So, Forbidden Words helps us in destroying things that, hey, if this is in the late game, then, hey, it doesn't matter. If it's a 10 attack minion, bam, it's gone. So, single target removal for 0. So, anything that's a 0 cost is really strong as far as the spell. You got to be careful of that. But honestly, I believe these are almost auto-includes into most priest decks. All right, Hinch Clan Shade Quill. 4 mana, 4/7. Death Rattle. Restore 5 health to your enemy hero. So, Death Rattle, you know, you're like, man, that sucks. After my minion dies, you know, I'm healing your opponent. But, I mean, for 4 mana, I mean, shoot, that's 2 health more than a Yeti. So here you are, it's stronger, healthier, and although it's not taunt, you know, someone may try to deal with it, and if they don't deal with it, then we still have Divine Shield, Inner Fire in play. All you have to do is just Divine this twice, and Inner Fire, 5 mana, bam, that's 28 damage. That's nothing to scoff at. And yeah, you might maybe heal someone for 5, but if you're fighting for the board, healing the opponent's face, it's like, whatever. So I healed you for 5. I control the board now. So, and then, even with this, we got something very nice and strong with the next one. 4 mana Unsleeping Soul. Here you are. Silence a friendly minion, then summon a copy of it. This is great that it's at 4 mana. I mean, here we are. I would thought they would try to have at least like 5 mana, something of that sort. But 4 mana, that's... I mean, I think that's really favorable. So only, of course, because it has a downside, you're silencing a minion, but you're getting a copy of it. So of course you don't want to silence anything that, you know, strong, like for example, convincing infiltrator, but silence your Hinch Clan Shade Quill and bring out another Hinch Clan Shade Quill at 4/7. You know, granted they hasn't been damaged. And yet again, that's two that has a threat of being Divine Spirit Inner Fire. Or Divine Spirit in Topsy-Turvy. So whichever the case may be, it's still something your opponent has to worry about. If you saw the video, that came out when the introduction or the final cards, they showed Silence Priest. And granted, Silence Priest is going to be something that's going to be played. I mean, with this card alone, kind of makes Silence Priest strong. Now, there's a second card that's, I can show you here, a neutral. Let's see here at the bottom. Where is it at? There we go. Dalaran Librarian. 2 mana, 2/3. Battlecry, silence adjacent minions. That, with the fact that you have, I mean, with this silence package, these two cards bring the silence package back to Priest. And yeah, I mean, Priest is going to be something that you got to be careful of. Because if they have silence, they're going to be more minion-centric. I mean, they're going to have a few spells here and there. But they want to have those spells in order to silence. And granted, silence is still going to be strong against your opponent. Because they're going to try to have things going on. And, you know, instead of using your silence on your minions, you can silence their stuff. And if you have minions on the board, bam. So, of course, the downside is the fact you're silencing something. And the downside is that you have to have a minion on the board. But the Temple Swing can really help you out. So I'm really enjoying these priest cards here. And then finally, 2 mana Evil Conscriptor. Death Rattle, add a lackey to your hand. So one thing about priests is that they didn't really have a whole lot of 2 mana cards. I mean, we had a few, but it was like situational, I want to say. I mean, you had Dead Ringer, which is great with Death Rattle, but of course, here we have Amara basically phasing out. So then it's like, okay, Radiant Elemental was situational for your spells. You didn't really want to play him on 2 unless you had Powered Shield or something of that nature. And Shadow Ascendant was more for, I mean, this is mainly for if you were trying to do like a minion, some type of aggro priest that really never got off the ground. And then Squashling's a 2 mana, restore 2 health. So let's double check and make sure I'm not disregarding any other 2 cost. Yeah, Arcani Phantasms new that just came out. That's situational. I mean, the thing is, all these Priest 2 costs are situational. So it's kind of like you don't really want to play them on 2, to be perfectly honest. So now that we have this Evil Conscriptor, I mean, he might be just played just the fact that 1, he costs 2. Another, even if he dies on 2, on 3, you get a lackey. And the lackeys, if you didn't know what they are, I think they're on here. Oh well. Basically, the lackeys are several guys that essentially do something to the board. So you have one that basically can transform to 1 cost more. You have another that can add attack. I mean, you have different ones that are okay on their own. But the fact is, for Priest needs to have more minion-centric stuff. So this is a step in the right direction, but is it something that's going to be played a whole lot, like, from this expansion? I mean, of the evil cards that adds lackeys, it's probably one of the best, aside from the Warlock one we'll see in the future. So, I mean, like I said, in the whole package, I think Priest got some of the best cards that we might see almost all of them played at some point or another. The key is it going to be like tier one, tier two deck? I mean, in the day one, Silence Priest might be like a tier two deck, but going forward, like maybe a month or so in, it's going to be interesting. I'll give a shout out to a streamer called Zadalot. He's probably his hands down the best priest player. He comes out with so many different decks. If you don't watch, if you haven't seen his streams, I would definitely take a look at that because for priest players, he's one of the best just coming out with cards. So I'm sure he's going to be playing a whole bunch of different things, and I look forward to seeing his decks. Otherwise, so for myself, I like Lady in White. So any minion that has a lot of health, I love having them in my deck for Lady in White. So even little ones like Morte, adding 2 more attack to it, Hinge Clan 7/7, Convincing Infiltrator 6/6, things like that. I mean, it's not anything that's going to win you the game, but the fact is that's just one more thing your opponent has to worry about. And having its fact as a 5/5. Now, granted, if you were to add Morte in there and she brings back Lady in White as a 5/5, I mean, as a 5/5 minion, it's not going to do anything on the board, but at least is one more thing your opponent has to deal with. Or Mass Resurrection. I mean, it, adds to the pool that sucks, but hey, that's what I have fun doing and I enjoy, and that's why I play Priest a lot. Lady in White. Now, is it going to be tier 1 or whatever? It's just going to be like a meme deck, but hey, I don't mind. I've already made Legend before. I'm not trying to do everything. So, all right, going to Rogue now. So Rogue's got an interesting package going on. They have lackeys, trying to get lackeys, and the fact that they actually have a means of trying to get cards from your opponent and have them in your hand to do different things. So, I mean, Rogues overall, I think, have a pretty good package. So take a look at them. We got Talk Noswhisker, 7 mana, 6/6. Whenever you shuffle a card into your deck, add a copy to your hand. So this is going to be great. Academic Espionage. You put that, you play it, and all those cards that's going to your deck, if you, let's say, just for whatever reason, you had not a lot of cards in hand, this is going to not only add them to your deck, but add them to your hand. So you got like 2 copies of things. So you kind of have an idea of what went into your deck as well. I mean, it's great if you're going to, but when Rogue has those cards, decks, as far as using cards to take from your opponent, it's going to be great. So before I forget, let's look at the Rogue cards that we're going to end up losing. All right, so starting with Ungoro. Hallucination was a cheap way of getting a card from your opponent. Caverns Below, not played now, but man, they got nerfed so many times. It's crazy. So goodbye to their quest. Razor Petal was the cheap spells. Sherazin hasn't really been played recently, but in the past it was played a whole lot. Valspine Slayer was a top card that was played as far as a way to destroy opponents with combos, so that's going to go away. Leeching Poison was nerfed recently, so this isn't as bad, but it was nerfed due to Kingsbane Rogue being so strong, but now with this being, after it was nerfed, Kingsbane hasn't really been played, so it's nowhere near as strong as it once was. But either way, we say goodbye to it. Lillian Voss, we didn't really see play a whole lot. I mean, Valera. Recently, Valera hasn't been something that... I mean, we've seen Valera with the fact that it's like kind of a long game, and the fact that you get more and more copies of, you play a card and then all of a sudden you get a copy of it, so you can kind of combo off each other. But Valera is going to go away. So from Kobolds, Kingsbane, goodbye. I think the biggest thing, Elven Minstrel is going to go, so that's going to be hard. That's going to be, rough, with the fact that it was a way to draw cards from your deck into your hand. So we're going to miss that card draw aspect of it. Strider, with the fact that I put more, ambushes in the future, will bring up the 4/4s. It's going to go. And Illusionist was good. There was a one-turn kill combo with Maligos and doing different things and destroying it. Spellstone wasn't even played, so... Oh, and they're going to lose that sudden betrayal secret. One thing about... Oh, I guess they're going to lose the whole secret package, almost. I wonder if they're going to do more secrets in the future for Rogue. But regardless, what they have now is actually okay, even without the secrets. All right. Next, Heist Baron Togwaggle, 6 mana, 5/5, Battle Cry. If you control a lackey, choose a fantastic treasure. And if you didn't know, the treasures essentially what our Marin the Fox has. Let's see if it shows it here. Yeah. So Marin the Fox, he comes out with several different treasures. Now, granted, in the beginning when this came out, a lot of people thought, it says fantastic treasure. What could it be? It's just the stuff that Marin the Fox gives you. And it's conditional with the fact that you have to control a lackey in your hand, but there are ways to add lackeys to your hand. So day one, we're going to see some pretty good things about this. But as far as the legendary is concerned, I think we'll see more of the Noswhisker than the Togwaggle. 6 mana, unidentified contract. So this will turn into different things in your hand. So it's going to either be Assassin's Contract, destroy minions, summon a 1/1 Patient Assassin. They're all going to destroy minions, so that's good. But it's just going to add a bonus on top of that. So 6 mana Turncoat, destroy a minion. It deals its damage to adjacent minions, so like a betrayal aspect of it. Recruitment Contract, destroy a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. So this will be a good way if they have a good card that you want to use. Destroy it. You have it now. And Lucrative Contract, destroy a minion, add 2 coins to your hand. So the coins aspect could be good if you have combo cards. I think the worst one of this is the Patient Assassin one, because it's a minion on the board and there could be a way that your opponent takes care of it. Granted, it's in stealth, but Turncoat can be conditional. The fact that Recruitment, I think, is going to be a really good one, with the fact that even if you destroy a person's minion and it comes into your hand, you might be able to utilize it. And the fact that we already have cards here with Rogue that benefit from having your opponent's card in your hand. So it'd be nice to have that. All right, so... Next, 4 mana, 4/2, Death Rattle. Oh, sorry, Waggle Pick. Death Rattle. Return a random friendly minion to your hand. It costs 2 less. So, with the fact that it's 2 durability on it, I can see this being played if you. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, Pogo Hopper. So Pogo Hopper. Pogo Hopper is one of those cards that, of course, the more that you've played it, the stronger and stronger it gets. The only problem with Pogo Hopper is still slow, regardless of what you're doing. Now, because of that, I'm sure that's why we haven't seen Pogo Hopper a whole lot. But it wouldn't surprise me if, people are going to be using Pogo Hopper and trying to make it work. And as of now, it hasn't. Now, will these cards help it? I mean, I guess it would help it, but it won't make it. I don't think it's going to make Pogo Hopper a strong deck. It's just going to be more of a meme. It's going to be meme status. Alright, 4 mana Vendetta. Deal 4 damage to a minion. Cost 0 if you're holding a card from another class. So this is what I was talking about before with the contracts. Now it's a lot easier to actually get a card from your opponent from another class. Is what it's, you know. So the fact that if you're holding just one of these cards, this is going to be 0. And the fact of 0, you know, 0 costs 4 damage, that's going to be pretty strong. And 4 damage is nothing to laugh at. There's a lot of minions that's worth 3 health or lower, or even 4 health. So the fact that you can combo the 4 damage on top of it, of the cards here in Rogue, that's going to be really utilized. I mean, even 4 cost 4 damage is not that bad. It's if you don't have a lot of cards in your hand and you got to really destroy something. Vendetta, I mean, it's going to be a really good card, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it in almost all the Rogue decks. All right, 2 mana, 2/3, so that's good cost. Underbelly Fence, Battlecry. If you're holding a card from another class, gain +1/+1 and Rush. So here you have a 2 mana. Already, you know, not bad as a 2/3, but then it's going to be a 3/4 and Rush. Come on now. That's not bad at all. So even in the late game, I mean, it's not bad in the early game or the late game. Early game, you can play it as a 2 cost, fight for the board, get you, you know, control of the board. Late game, even if it's a 3/4, the fact that it has Rush on top of it, which, if you don't know, Rush is like charge, but it can't attack the opponent's face, it's still really good. So it has as a means to actually help you control the board. Early cost, I mean, this is all around a good card. So for Rogue, you'll notice a lot of these cards are actually not bad for Rogue in and of itself, especially the fact that they kind of changed the whole aspect of when you get cards, you're actually like discovering it from another class. They kind of changed the way that getting like burgling cards from your opponent is going to be different. You actually can have somewhat of an effect of what you're trying to get. All right, next, Togwaggle's scheme. So his scheme is to choose a minion, shuffle 1 copy of it into your deck, and of course, each turn it grows. So here you can actually shuffle a whole lot of minions into your deck as the game plays out. Now with Rogue, there's really not necessarily going to be a long game with the fact that it's more likely going to be more mid-ranged. But with some of these cards, if you're able to get cards from your opponent that actually benefits you, I mean, there might be a way to get closer to controlling the board. So as far as Toggle is concerned, it's just you got to make sure you have a game plan as far as what minions you want to put in your deck. As far as schemes go, it's not bad, but the fact is, the reason why it's 1 mana is because you kind of got to figure out what am I going to do, what minion's best to do, to use it on, to get multiple minions. All right, 4 mana, 4/3, Hinch Clan Burglar. Battlecry, discover a spell from another class. So this is not just for your opponent's class, just in general. It's going to be a spell from another class. So you're going to automatically get something that's from, not necessarily from Rogue, because there's a lot of cards. There's one thing even Blizzard was saying was the problem of if Rogue versus Rogue really wouldn't help out your cards if your basic deck theme was to be different cards, and here you are Rogue versus Rogue, and you're like, whoops, not getting different cards, because guess what? Can't do anything. So now this guy is going to be able to get you. So he's going to be auto-including like all the Rogue decks that allow that in some way get you different things. You're going to have him, you're going to have Underbelly, you're going to have Vendetta, you're going to have Talk, and you're going to have Academic Espionage. So, I mean, the deck kind of already makes itself. And doesn't even sound pretty bad. Sounds good, actually, in my book. All right. Next, we have 3 mana, 1/5. Evil Miscreant. Combo, add 2 random lackeys to your hand. So for 3 mana, 1/5, I mean, 1 attack is really not much of anything. The good thing is with combo, you'll have lackeys in your hand to help Hearthstone and Togwaggle. I mean, honestly, this seems probably one of the weakest of the rogue cards. But it all depends on how it all plays together. Yeah, I still I don't know. You're gonna have him in your deck, especially if you're gonna have Togwaggle, but he's pretty weak. Concern 1/5. The good thing is the 5 health. He'll stay alive. That's good, but yeah, he's not gonna do too much for the board. Next, 1 mana Daring Escape. Return all friendly minions to your hand. So, one, let's just give a shout out to how awesome this art is. I mean, it's... Look at this. That is awesome. They just get out of there while everything's exploding or whatever. Pretty cool. But for 1 mana, return all friendly minions to your hand. So... that's not bad with the fact that here you are. If you have a whole lot of things on the board and you want a combo or you want to make it cheap, 1 mana. What was the name of that card? So for Rogue, so you had Sap, but that was mainly for, 1 minion at a time. I think it was 6. Yeah, they're Vanish. That's it. So for 1 mana, it's like a Vanish, but it only is on your side. That's like a 5 mana discount for just doing only your minions only. I mean, I'll take that deal. I'll take it any time of the day. So if you have like a lot of bounce effects, or even if you don't have stuff that's bounce effect, but the fact that you have things on the board that's been taking damage, you want to play it again. I mean, here you are, Hearthstone Togwaggle. Be able to get something from that treasure. 1 mana, bring it all back and do it again. Sounds good. Alright, let's see. So we did Priest and Rogue. We got Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. Alright. So as far as YouTube is concerned, I'm going to end it there. So, and we will continue with Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior on the next video. So, as far as YouTube's concerned, definitely thanks for coming out, but leaving a comment, like, and subscribe so we can get this ball rolling and keep going. I've been your host, GP. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you.